This week on The Real Deal, well, it's a long weekend and happy Easter to you. I hope you are enjoying celebrating this special time with your loved ones. And for some of us, it is indeed a special time for those of us that believe in the power of the resurrection. Now, talking of resurrection, sometimes we feel like we need to be resurrected at the end of a sale because it can all go horribly wrong and die a nasty death. Okay. So what can go wrong? Well, first of all, we spoke last week about the pre-settlement inspection. Now, sometimes the house doesn't look good. Now, gradually things can fall into a heap just before settlement where the seller's exhausted, they've spent all night packing and actually got to do 2 more dump loads. They've got the dog in the backyard, the fence in the new place isn't secure, they have to leave the dog behind, they don't know what to do, and it just all falls apart. Settlement happens, the dog's in the corner, there's skip bags in the front yard that should have been taken to the dump, and the house hasn't been cleaned and the lawn hasn't been mowed. I know that's a really worst case scenario. That happened to me when I purchased a property. That genuinely did happen when I purchased the property I currently live in. We extended a lot of grace and we were quite thoughtful, but when it came to 6, 7 o'clock and the property had settled at 12 and we were wanting to get in and we had a builder ready to rip the kitchen out, we really had to have some reasonably firm words and say, look guys, really, we would like to get into our own house. You know, would you try and have this moved by midnight? That would be very thoughtful. And could we also have the keys for our front door, which weren't given to us? So settlement day can be a very fraught time, and there are some basic courtesies which we would like to remind you of. Number 1, vacant possession. That is actually a clause on the contract. So the property should be vacant. I'm talking about no lounge suites. Even if Auntie Bertha gets an antique worth a fortune, your buyer doesn't necessarily want Auntie Bertha's lounge suite, all right? The chicken coop in the backyard that you dismantled, you can't leave the rubble there thinking somebody might find it useful to build another hen coop. You can't leave your hens in the coop either unless that's been agreed to, and definitely don't leave any properties on the property because that's seen as abandoned. So if it's supposed to be vacant possession, I've actually heard of people terminating contracts. If they want to get out and there's a little loophole and that's their final loophole to get out, if something awful had to happen and markets had to suddenly crash, you do not want to leave any little loophole there to cause settlement not to occur. It would be very unusual for that to happen, but look, there have been days where things have been left behind and then the agent gets a very angry call from the buyer. Now the agent may have done an amazing job all the way through the transaction, as we often do, and then just at the end, a seller's selfishness or just being unthoughtful and leaving something behind can really cause everything to fall apart. The same with bins. Bins really should be emptied and should be gurneyed. It's a courtesy. Lawns should be mowed. So don't ruin the buyer's expectation of moving into a house. Try and make it as nice for them as possible. Maybe write them a nice little welcome card, leave them a gift even. Those are all lovely things to do. You don't have to do that, but just think of others as you would like to be treated yourself. And for buyers as well, try to be a little bit gracious and understand that the sellers also had a tough time too, as you've probably no doubt had on the other side. And also try not to hold other people accountable to your own standards. I know it would, in an ideal world, everyone would do the right thing, but we don't live in an ideal world, do we? So talking of that, let's try and make your property transaction as nice as possible for the other party and for all parties, and also don't give the agent a hard time. They've helped you through this deal. So that's all from me for this weekend. Be blessed.